Okay, that's me over here this time. Normally I'm in the bottom of the totem pole, but this time I'm over on the side. And and below me, for the very first time in living memory, is our good friend Andrena Forrest. He's from the UK, and our guest. Well, I've got to say, take it away, Andrena, and you shed the light, mate.
Well, welcome everybody to Dreaming the New Dream. And if anybody's listening to the replay, today is the 4th of August, 2022. And welcome. And it's my greatest pleasure and privilege to have the lovely Dr. Sandra Rose Michael on our show. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show. I don't know where to start. I've got lots of questions, and I haven't been to one of your centres yet, and I know you haven't got one in the UK, and I know you've got the EESystems, which a lot of people don't know what they are, and I've put up photos asking people, do you know what this is? So where do we start? So let's start at the beginning. You're born in Vegas, and I know that you were...
No, I'm just in Vegas now.
I beg your pardon. You're born in America.
I'm not a Vegas person at all.
Yeah, you were born in America, and you were born to, I believe, very gifted parents that were scientists. So would you like to share how your journey started, how you've come to bring these amazing machines to humanity? Because I know they're traveling all around the world now, and I know it's your gift to be of service to humanity, and you're making the greatest changes. So please share how it all started.
Well, it all started, actually, it all started when my parents met in engineering physics at Ohio.
I was going to go there. I thought it was going to be a sperm joke. Yeah.
So, my mother, a nuclear physicist, and my dad, the aerospace, electrical, mechanical, structural, engineer, both hyper geniuses. And and then it all started. It's kind of a bad joke on my mother, I think, because her mother told her if she douched on her wedding night, she wouldn't get pregnant. So she was working on the bomb, fissioning plutonium in the labs, very, very top secret, right? Fissioning plutonium on the labs, working on the bomb the whole time she was pregnant with me. Got me instead. And so kind of the mad scientist stuck on mad, because then it was all my fault somehow. I don't know if that was my fault, but...
Is that Project Manhattan you're talking about in New Mexico?
Actually, she was at Battelle Labs.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, in Ohio. So my dad, the aeronautical engineer, my mom's working on the bomb, fissioning plutonium. I know radiation literally from the inside out. I remember it all vividly, by the way. I remember the labs and watching her and all that stuff. And of course, then it's all my fault that she didn't become this great research scientist, because she really loved doing what she was doing. And then, with my dad, he was working on, Mach 3 and stealth bombers. And I come in going, how do we heal all this? How do we bring healing to all of this? And so it was a little different. From the time I could talk, I was literally talking about, the mad Atlantean scientists and the abuse of power. And I was still pissed about it, literally. I mean, maybe that's the wrong term. But yeah, I was still very upset about it. So guess what I chose as parents? They were like mad Atlantean scientists. and very still upset about the abuse of power, because that's the most parallel time to where we are right now. Doing all the same things, all the abuse of scalar technologies, mind control, weaponry, but chimeras, and working on, the hijacking of the DNA and all the mind control stuff, and just a sense of commission as far as abuse of power, and very, very vivid memories of being, high priestess in the healing temples and trying to stop all of it. So it's very much a parallel time. And so then that really ties into what we're doing now, because we're kind of using Atlantean technology to create the counterpoint to all the abuse of that technology, using, to override it with a higher power, the power of love, literally. So, but I grew up, everything was a science project, everything. My parents, Mensa, so, and so I did all the top secret government science projects as a child,
Wow.
Levitating things and with magnets and, transducers and receivers and circuit boards and Tesla coils, of course. Lots of Tesla coils, and always making different coils to do different things with different substances. And anyway, but I thought everybody's favorite toys were my favorite toys. Geiger counters and gyroscopes. Yeah. I had collections of them, okay? and growing up on a farm, because born in Columbus, Ohio State University thing, where my parents met, but grew up on a farm, and trying to heal all the animals, and so it was a very interesting combination of a childhood where, with the Mensa side of things, I was reading encyclopedias cover to cover by third grade. So, I just wanted all the information, and hold my hands up and watch how the energy would go through with because I saw everything as this combination of engineering, mechanical, structural, electrical, engineering, and physics. And so that's biophysics, right? And when you have between your hands, that's applied biophysics, really. I see everything as energy. So I came in a little different with those memories of past lives and all this, and born in the bloodline of Martin Luther. So that whole Lutheran thing. So I came in very, very spiritual and into a very religious family. And seeing the hypocrisy of that, but also the gift of Martin Luther, because I read that Bible 6 times cover to cover by the time I was 12.
Oh, gosh.
We were really into, he was really into that reading of it. And, of course, we're getting all the understandings in between. But also, by the time I was 12, I had every translation I could find. I had, I would study all the entomology and what they translated. How it was like, how in the world did they translate that to that? And I was studying it, analyzing it. Actually, so that was part of my background. So it's a little, it's a little different background for things. And
just a little, hey. But you obviously chose your parents, and you've come in as a very gifted person to make masses of changes all around the world. So
very much here on purpose, on a mission, sent, very clear on that. Except as a kid, I was going, let me out of here. These people haven't been my parents a single past life. These people are crazy. That genius and insanity thing. Oh my goodness. Know it intimately. And, so let me out of here, and I'd be up in the grid looking down on the planet, and I'd be sent back. I'm going, but where's my temples? I think I made a wrong turn. Where's Hawaii? I'm in the middle of Ohio. What happened? I made a really wrong turn here.
Yeah, I think there's a few of us that say that we've been dropped off on the wrong planet.
But a lot of information that I was always aware of, and promise coming in this, about this new heaven and a new earth, and we're here through us. And that's what we're here for. We're here to walk the planet as the fully realized God, goddess, sons and daughters of God. Christ said everything he did and more we're to do, and that all things are possible to he that believes, right? So to think anything's impossible is a sin. It means off track, out of alignment. Everything is on purpose, because I wouldn't be able to do everything I was here for without every single thing I went through.
Yeah.
Because it's on purpose. It's doing the homework so we can fulfill our highest purposes. And I needed that homework in this life, not just the past life stuff. And so it's been a very interesting journey. So by the time I was in high school, I was, I tested above 99th percentile on the, I don't know if you have those tests, ACT and SAT, the college testings and all that kind of stuff. So very, very interesting. In 1971 is when I started, and I tested top in the state in Ohio in Latin. Yeah. Very good for science, but also for all the root language too of that. But I'd sit in the class and be just remembering my past life with it, where I spoke Latin, things like that. So I tested top of the state in Latin, English, and math. And so, but then 1971 is when I started into chiropractic, reflexology, nutrition, Ayurveda. I spent 8 years studying Sanskrit and the Vedas. And that's your best books. The very best books on physics is the Vedas. That's the Sanskrit and the Vedas. That's written down over 5,000 years ago. So it's very, very interesting material to study, really. And so I started into all that. And then I was running a power management equipment company besides running spas. And I built my first scalar healing light chamber in 1978. But really, I'm a hands-on healer. I understand it because I see everything as that energy and the physics. But you can see how chiropractic would also be structural, mechanical, and electrical engineering, right? Because the circuits all go through the spine. All the nerves run through the spine. And the basic principle is the power that made the body heals the body. The power that made the body heals the body. And I kind of saw myself as jumper cables, but I built my first scalar healing light chamber in 1978 because I took some of that power management equipment and I did all these experiments and research. And I had studied Rife and radionics and photonics and all that kind of stuff earlier in the 70s as well. So my first scalar healing light chamber was built in my spa in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, of all places, outside of Pittsburgh. That was seeing total miracles with people with that. But it was only one person at a time. So there's only so much you can do. And I had material from NASA, and I had all these different, and the power management equipment, and the geometries and the special lights, because I'd studied all Ott's work on the importance of light with the body. And really it goes to the DNA is biophotonic. The core of the DNA is the light, the stuff from the stars. We are bodies of light, literally beings of light. And the prime function of DNA is the storage of photons. So we were seeing all these miracle healings back in 1978 with that, but one person at a time. But amazing things and realize we can't make any, it's illegal to heal, fix, or cure anything. So we cannot make those claims. However, we saw was reversals of leukemia and lupus and cancers, and because the power that made the body heals the body. And when the body has the right energy, when it has the right ingredients, and there isn't anything the body doesn't want to heal, because it is a divine design, the infinite innate intelligence of the body. So it goes back to that. And then I was recognized as like one of the top healers on the planet. So the technology then came from literally listening cell by cell to more than 10,000 bodies, a hands-on healer. And understanding the body as a condensation of consciousness. The body holds the memories of every thought, every experience we've ever been through, this life, past lives, and genetically. And I tell people too, I mean, whether you believe in past lives or not, there have been a lot of past lives on the planet. And that's all in the memory, in the DNA. It's tremendous informational fields that we have access to. So, let's call forth all that wisdom rather than staying stuck in any of the bad D movies of those past lives or past times or past traumas and dramas and all that stuff. Everything is on purpose. So let's call forward all the wisdom of all the ancestral knowledge, all the way back to source. All the way back to the creator, all the love. Let's call forth all of that. Now, what do we want to create? Because this is a very creative planet, obviously. And if we could create everything we've ever created, we could feel everything we've ever felt, if we could experience everything we've ever experienced. Now, what do we want to experience? How do we want to feel? What do we want to create? And if we could play in all the ways we've ever played this game of life on this planet, now how do we want to play? There could be a lot more fun ways to play than some of the ways we've played on this planet. So rather than staying stuck in the bad D movies, let's dream a new dream. It's time to, I used to talk about dancing the dreamers awake, dancing the dream awake. So, and really, my work is based on the dance of the DNA. It's also called the dance of creation, which is breathing in all the power, all the light, all the love, all God's love right into your heart, and it flows out infinitely to touch the hearts of all beings. And you're going to keep the love and let go of everything else. You see, that's the dance of the DNA. It's this flow. You see the infinity. So this is that secret of the mystery schools, the deep mystery, where we have access to unlimited power, infinite intelligence, unconditional love, right? If we have access to all that, what's the problem? It can all be easy, right? It's about remembering who we are, all that we are, all that we're here for, all that we have access to, how highly we're connected. And rather than just sitting on our access, we want to access that power through our seat of power, literally that power that rises up through the spinal column. That's your spinal column. It's meant to be a column of light, like a pillar in the temple of God. That's your standing column or wave. That's the standing column or wave. That's your biophysics, right? And allow that power to rise up from within you. And we need to now be those pillars in the temple of God, to stand in our power, in our truth, in our light, knowing all that we stand for, with our sword of truth to cut through all the BS.
There's a lot of that about.
Yeah, because anything that's stuck in the body was just from buying into a lie. There's nothing more powerful than truth. It's the truth that sets us free. And anything stuck in the body, the only way anything got stuck was from that, this is the breathing in all the light and all the love and letting go of anything that no longer serves, keeping the love, letting go of everything else. The only way anything ever got stuck in the body was that whole stoppage of breath. Don't want to be here, don't want to deal with it. God screwed up, something's wrong. Let me out of here. A stoppage of the breath. So that's where the aloha comes in. You're going to keep the love, And there's nothing to hold on to in that flow. The joy is in the flow. Because fear and God, fear and love cannot share the same space.
No.
And fear is only thinking there's something bigger than God. It's just, fear is, it's just, again, buying into a lie of thinking there was something bigger than God. And that's how things got stuck in the body, was from the fear reaction pattern where the body tensed and held on to some illusion. Versus in the beginning, God breathed the breath of life into man. After that, we're in this free will zone on this planet. A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful paradise planet, a free will zone where it's up to us whether we're continually, constantly, consciously reconnecting to that source of all light, all life, all power, all wisdom or not. And it's only a breath away. The word spirit comes from the Latin word spirare, which means to breathe. That oneness with the breath. This is aloha, oneness with the breath of the love of all life. And it's all within us. And we share from that aloha spirit, with the waves of love. And it's infinite waves of love. So that's what I programmed the technology to do with the body.
Fantastic. That's amazing.
That was a good trick.
But we don't, it's schools in the past, they don't teach you all these things about, connecting with yourself, about your breath, about meditation, about being. And, I've often said when they all come together first thing in the morning in schools, children are coming from all walks of life with all sorts of issues going on in the families. And yet if you bring them all in together and you just do a quiet meditation, or you're getting to do some dancing, it just changes everything. But I know there are places that are starting to be more involved in letting the children be more freer, but we've not been taught that in the past, have we? We've all been shut down, and we've been told the total opposite, that nobody's told us you are the powerhouse, you are God, you are the light.
Yeah. And it's been a diseducation system, and it's everything. We were talking about this a little bit earlier about Nazi Germany, propaganda, and look what.
Jesse Goebbels. Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah. Got cut off there. Joseph Goebbels, Germany's #1 propaganda machine. I mean, he's pretty impressed, isn't he? The way that the current guys have done the planet this last 3 years. There we go. So there was a lady earlier on who mentioned, I wish there was one in Queensland, but there is. So there you go. Marlene's just had 2 days of it.
Yeah, no, I know. Somebody said there was two on the Gold Coast, but I know there's one in Sydney, and I know there's one that I'm aware of, and I know a few people have actually sat in them and said amazing the benefits. And I've been talking to a few friends, and they've gone together and they've had an hour session, and they've all split the cost. I think it was about $100 for an hour. And so they paid $25 each and split the cost. But I know Dr. Sandra mentioned that you could have 100 people in the room. So if you've got 100 people in the room, imagine the healing that could happen for people all around the planet, having so many people.
There's only 2, Oana. It's one on the Gold Coast and one in Sydney.
Oh, is that right? Okay, I thought somebody said 3, but I wasn't sure. So
yeah, there you go. Well, according to the website, hey, we're just waiting for her to come back online. But people have to understand it's coming up for 2:30 in the morning. It's just awesome.
I wish I looked like that at 2:30 in the morning, Flip.
So we just got to see if I can bring this up to give people an idea. This thing just keeps going in a loop.
So for people that don't know what an EESystem is, it's like television screens, isn't it? And in the corners of the room.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, set up in scalar waves, but we'll just wait for her to come back online. I've got my mobile phone turned off, so hang on a sec. Let's hope she doesn't think that we've gone and knocked her off. I'll just go off airport mode. She might come through on a private Facebook message.
Right, I better do the same then, just in case.
Yeah, Christine's just come through. We went to a lounge on the Gold Coast. We heard the lounge in Sydney wasn't operating. So there you go. There's people bring up the speed. Okay.
Because I know I looked at the necklaces ages ago, and I said to a friend, "Oh, have you seen these? What do you think about these?" And I was going to get one, and I can't remember what happened. I moved or something. Totally forgot all about it. And then listening to Dr. Sandra talking with Jason Shurka, I thought, oh wow, this is interesting. And talking to different friends, I mean, they're having phenomenal results around the world. Absolutely phenomenal.
Okay, so she's lost internet. Okay, so let's just carry on the show.
Have you got any more pictures to share for people to see?
I do.
Because what fascinates me is all the colours that are coming through.
I mean, when you see something like that, you think, what's going on here? Yeah.
I know they're all even numbers. You know, you can have 4, 8, 16, or 12. There's no odd numbers for some reason.
Okay. Yeah, so obviously we'd love her to come back on. What's that? I just got cut off. Yeah, okay, that's all right.
Right at the prime time of a talk, eh?
But Goebbels.
We won't say any more. But I mean, what I love is what she's doing is for the betterment of humanity.
Yeah. So obviously you sit or lay in between those units there. So when she mentioned 1978, she was only doing it one-on-one. In that environment there with the lounges, you know, you could place a few lounges there, and you could probably, as you said before, those people come and shared the cost, so you could no doubt have 4 or 5 or 6 people in that and receive the benefit from it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I did read about you can have up to 100, so I don't know how many of those devices you would need in, you know, if that makes a difference to how many devices there are to how many people. But I know she talks what she's wearing. I don't know what they're called, those little circular discs. And I think they're about $100 on her website. And I know I've got one friend who's messaged me and said that she bought one and she's been wearing it for 4 days, and she's noticed such a difference in her energy. So I think, and that's affordable if people can't afford to go to a centre and have a treatment. But I think I was also told that they were booked up right until December.
Yeah.
So you've got to book way in advance, and which makes total sense. But I'm just wondering, because there's none yet in the UK, and because I thought, oh, you know, could find out where they are, but they're not over here yet. And I think she said they were in Switzerland and the Netherlands. So they're obviously working their way across the planet.
Mm.
So I'm just wondering how, because obviously there's a lot about the MedBeds as well. Everybody's expecting the MedBeds to heal everything and reverse aging and all sorts of things. And I don't know enough to, you know, how it works. You know, it's just something we've all been waiting to see. So I'm just wondering how she would say this in comparison to a MedBed.
Yeah, okay. So I've put up this expo here, and there is another. Oh, here it is. I jumped out too quick. Yeah, so
That's 2020.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on, then. I just got to talk to her as well. In 2020, she was a keynote speaker. So let's go and get that little click. Where is it? There. Here we go. Come on up. Come in. There you go.
Yeah, I think it's called a scalar wave pendant that she's wearing, and she's wearing two. So
Okay, so
no, I don't. I'm looking forward to it coming to England, but I was hoping to ask her that when we spoke. So as medallions, are they? I wasn't quite sure what they were called. Pendants, medallions. But yeah, apparently they're very powerful. So I thought, well, you know, with all the different, MedBeds haven't been made public. Yeah, so I was told that one had been brought in and it was held up by the military in Ireland a little while ago. I mean, how true that is, I don't know, but there's a lot of different thoughts on what they do. Whereas with the EESystem, you actually just sit in the chair just sit in a chair or on your sofa or whatever. And I think I don't know how, I just wondering how they run, if you have them running for 24/7, and then what the cost is. Is it a low cost to keep them running? I mean, that's another thing with the way that prices are going sky high. People are more aware of all using these different devices because of the cost.
carry on talking. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking what else.
Anyway, she's just coming to say that she's checking all the routers and all that stuff. And she's trying to use a mobile phone and so forth. I noticed on the website there to get one of these EESystems, which we really haven't gotten into the part of the conversation, but the $14,880 delivered anywhere in the United States. So
I saw $28,000 for 4 units, I think it was. I saw that. I saw that on one of her pages, came up this morning.
Hey, I wonder if I can do. I wonder if I can do Facebook. She's doing coming through on Facebook Messenger. You can have video on that, can't you?
Yeah, I think it says you can set up a room. I've never done it.
No, I wonder if I can get her to come through and interact. Let's have a go. Okay, we'll have a go, eh?
Well, this is live.
Eh?
I said this is live.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to go with the audio signal because we have 2 different audios coming through, isn't it? Oh, here she comes. She's back.
We're back.
Hey.
My son showed up and figured out how to get it to reconnect.
Brilliant.
There was a brief internet outage.
Oh, it wasn't a brief internet outage, but got it back on. Yeah.
It's funny when you were just talking at a certain point and you disappeared.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. It's like, was it something I said?
I wonder.
Joseph Goebbels was the key word.
Oops. Oh, well. Yeah, so it's interesting time that we're in on the planet.
Definitely. And it's all about us healing ourselves now more than ever. Just more than ever with all the changes that's been happening for people. I don't want to go there. So I tried to we showed some pictures of the EESystem. So what I would like to ask, so people can have, I think you said you can have them in even numbers as opposed to odd numbers.
Yes.
So say I wanted one in my home now. Would I start off with just 2? Would it be like 2 in each corner?
No.
Would it be a cube? So would you enlighten us? I don't know anything about them.
Yeah, no, they're field engine generators. I mean, it is pure science, but it's the way I work with it. It's phase conjugate wave pairs that come together. So anyway, it's a 180 degree. That's very, very precise. And we do 4 corners or 4 walls, or creating a perfect, square or rectangle, so to speak, but equidistance, very precisely aligned to within 1/100 of an inch tolerance. There you go. That's one of the rooms. So I'm not even sure where that one. Oh, I'm not even sure where that one is. They're all over the world. So but that's a 20 unit system. Maybe that's the one in, I'm not even sure where that one is. Anyway.
Do they run 24/7?
And they run 24/7. That's right. Because it's creating this amazing, it's industrial strength scalar, in that it's not just scalar. You've got the combination of photonics, we're colliding photons, kind of like CERN or Fermi Labs, but not just colliding, we're creating like photonic fusion, which is very, very interesting because that's what actually naturally occurs in the body. So you've got your polychromatic therapy, that's your ultimate color therapy. You see the colors, and it's designed to interface with the DNA. And it looks like 12 strands of DNA. Scrolling on the screen, it looks like 12 strands of DNA. It's going through Fibonacci sequences, or your golden mean, because that's what helps activate and mobilize the body's stem cells, because it's the cellular replication patterns. And so it's setting up a full standing columnar wave, or a 0 point energy. And that 0 point then creates this null zone effect, that is a nullification of all detrimental and disruptive fields. So I literally understood radiation from the inside out, right? This is creating the antidote to that. Instead of fission, we're doing fusion. And so it creates this nullification of detrimental and destructive fields. And it's very pretty too. After all, I'm the one that does the double blonde studies. It has to be pretty. But it's the interface with the DNA. And it's very, very interesting how it works as far as with the field effects. These are like field engine generators. And everything is custom built to generate the fields, custom assembled, and custom installed for the space. So the minimum is 4 units. But we do have a new baby unit called the EE Cube. And it's 4 units internally, so it doesn't have to be custom installed. We don't have to send an installation team, but it's it's like 2 by 2 by 2. It's EE Cube, where it's 4 units internally, and then the monitors are facing out, and it creates like this beautiful photon fountain type effect. And it's extraordinarily bioactive energy in that it's dense, intentional, informational fields that's raising the millivoltage in the cells, literally the cell membrane potential, increasing that cell membrane potential. We're meant to be functioning at 70 to 90 millivoltage when healthy. And cancer doesn't exist in the body till that's below 20. Again, this goes back to Otto Warburg's work, and talk about pH cancer. And this has to do with pH. That's your hydrogen potential, or the power of hydrogen. And so, it's releasing the active because of the hydrobifurcation from that fusion. I go a little deep into the science. I apologize, but it gives, it gives the body the ideal optimal energy to heal itself. It's kind of like a wireless human or a cell battery charger. It's not even just for humans. It's for biology, for life. It's literally light force energy. That's an ideal optimal energetic that we'd have in an ideal optimal world of how do we create heaven on earth here. But also it's how do we plug the body back into that cosmic light socket, universal unlimited power on. It's literally activating the light at the core of the DNA. And that's our star. It's been called the star seed, but it's the light at the core. We are stardust. We are beings of light. Prime function of DNA is storage of photons, and so that's just very, very interesting work. And all healing, is from that, giving the body back that light energy, light force, life force energy. And radiation unzips the DNA, breaks those covalent hydrogen bonds, unzips the DNA. Well, unified fields puts it back into its original divine matrix. So puts it back to its original divine design. Or, I like to talk about, we have designer genes. Everybody wants designer genes. We want the original divine design of our DNA. Puts the DNA back to its original matrix. That's that 0 point or unified field effect. And then with the fusion effect, that hydrobifurcation releases the active hydrogen, which allows the repair of the covalent hydrogen bonds in the DNA. And the active oxygen, of course, is like your ultimate oxygen therapy. But it's restoring the body's natural alkaline pH, because every cell is like a mini battery. So all life is, healing is voltage is one of the books that's out there,
Right.
Yeah.
So people just come in and sit there like for an hour, and it just does whatever it needs to do to that person's body. They can just sit and meditate, just be, and just allow it to flow through.
That's correct. It's so simple. Children and animals, they don't have to explain anything. They just say, go in, close your eyes, take a little power nap. You're literally breathing light. Photons are your quantums of light. So, and cancer it's like a disturbance in the force. It's from a loss or a lack, a distortion of the photons so this puts the body back to its original. And it's not really, nothing's touching the body. It's just healthy energy. It's photons, which are your quantums of light. You're breathing light to every cell and every part of the body. And then that infinite innate intelligence of the body knows what to do with the energy. So it's just ideal optimal energy. It's also ideal optimal meditational states. You talk about meditating. So and that is some of the research where people could go to a deeper meditational state than a Tibetan monk in 7 minutes. And this was research that I did with one of the top scientists, who's considered top scientist at the Pentagon for a while, but a deeper meditational state than a Tibetan monk in 7 minutes. It's pretty crazy.
Wow.
But all healing is done in delta and theta brain states. And so you want to close your eyes. As long as the eyes are open, more than 80% of the body's energy, 90% almost, is being externalized to cope with the environment. But it's like rebooting a computer. You want to, sleep mode, right? Defrag, reboot. And we want to flip everything from being in that fright, flight, or fight, that fear mode physically that the body got stuck in from all the fear reaction patternings. The whole body goes, I can finally relax in an ideal, because otherwise we're being bombarded 24/7 with the EMF, the ELF, the radiation, the microwave. And after Fukushima, we have like what's considered, with the NASA physicists I work with, it's considered an extinction level event, an ELE, extinction level event, just from Fukushima alone. We should have all been evacuated, but where are we going to all go?
Good question.
Las Vegas.
We have to become bodies of light, literally, because light bodies don't care so much about the radiation, but we're reversing all the effects of that. Because as we radiate light, again, the core of the DNA is light from the stars, and disease is from a loss or lack of photons. And so, this is light force energy. Sometimes I joke about our technology is kind of like Star Trek, Star Wars, and the Matrix got together and had a baby.
Okay. So my question to you is that the power source that comes to your configuration, obviously in North America it's 110, in European or Commonwealth-based countries, I suppose, we're 220, 240. But we're working on 50 hertz when we should be working on 60 hertz.
Well,
so when we've got
detrimental to the body. And if you want to learn more about that, you can actually go on our research page and read the transcript of John Orava, who's a Pentagon biophysicist, or there's a YouTube video of John Orava, O-R-A-V-A, describing how that stresses the cells. So it doesn't matter whether it's 50 or the 60, but the stress to the cells that would break down immune function would eventually cause cancer, even just our 60 cycle or 50 cycle electrical grid. Because
the electrical grid comes in. That's coming into that room where you got. And then are you then transforming that into your...
Right.
That's your proprietary technology, yeah? Then
it's a total transmutation of energy into beneficial, coherent, cohesive, unified field effects. And not just that. It's because it puts it into like electrical precursors for the body, so to speak. Bioactive energy is energy that the body relates to, because again, the DNA is biophotonic. So it takes the energy, and it's using it like through the circuitry of the body and working with all the meridians simultaneously and stuff. There's a lot of research, a lot of research, and I recommend people see some of that research, or they can go to the Tesla Tech. I lectured for the Tesla conferences, and if they go on YouTube, they can put on Dr. Sandra Rose Michael, Tesla Tech, and there's a couple where I go through the science and I go through some of the medical, because we've had peer-reviewed published studies, with the University of Hawaii Medical School on mitigation of seizure disorder. And that was a case of a little girl having 8 to 10 grand mal seizures a day.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it was actually a clear case after the well baby check. We'll talk about that way since it's going on YouTube.
I'm hearing you.
And after that well baby check, she was having 8 to 10 grand mal seizures a day, and had her first seizure-free day after her third 1-hour session.
Wow.
In the EESystem. And so that was published in the Journal of Neurology Research. So there's a lot of research that we go through. Initial clinicals were done in 2001, and those were presented that was with Dr. Victor Marcial Vega. That's the initial clinicals, 132 patients. And that was presented at the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. But you can read those studies and things like that on the website. And it was also presented at the Radiation Oncology Committee meeting because he was a Johns Hopkins trained oncologist in the top 1% of credentials. And so he presented it as an adjunct therapy for cancer because it mitigated pain and side effects so well. Because it reduces inflammation when you have that active hydrogen and the effects on the body. I don't know if you saw the thermography that shows inflammation. So it's reducing inflammation through the whole body. And of course, inflammation is what's behind all dis-ease, aging. And, that's that, the body, in that inflammatory state is what's behind all acute chronic disease and pain as well. So you reduce that inflammation, the body wants to heal.
So, with radio, I'm using radio as an example. So we put out a carrier wave. So we're on 88 hertz. But you can have a sub-carrier wave where you can send out another message on our carrier wave. So in TV terms, they used to have what was teletext. So you might, in Australia, I'll just give you an example. We had channel 7, and you could then click on the teletext, and then you'll get a screed would come down the bottom and get all your news. That was on the sub-carrier wave. On yours, scalar wave, your scalar wave technology would be a carrier wave. Would you also have a sub-carrier wave in there where you might have a message there saying, "Get well, you're positive, I love you.
Breathe love, breathe light."
Yeah. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it's waves of love. Literally, it's dense intentional informational fields, and it's all about alignment with true best and highest potential. Like the exponential highest potential. That's because everything wants to function more optimally, and scalar is a carrier wave, and the DNA is also scalar. The DNA is also like an antenna. So there's, it's wireless transmission.
Can you amplify it using quartz crystal?
Well, there's always an aspect of that, and that's part of the interface with the body. And that's why we use, this is the high tech and the low tech model, the EE medallions that I'm wearing, or the EE bracelets, because they're natural crystals, natural stones in that toroidal, scalar vortex format, which is like an infinitely projected Mobius. And so it carries a charge perpetually because they're self-healing, self-repairing, self-regenerating fields. And so we've done a lot of research. You can read studies on the medallions. Like I said, these are the high-tech, very high-tech, embedded into a low-tech model, very portable, very wearable. But it helps maintain the integrity of the DNA and the red blood cells and things like that, because it's, and if you read the research, Dr. Glenn Ryan did lab research, and that's actually on the website, lab research, and he found a 28% increase in the electrical conductivity of DNA itself, just being exposed to a medallion.
Wow, that's high.
28%. Again, superconductivity. That's that state where there's no impedance, right? Very, very important. Very important concept is coherence. Defrag, right? You want to create total coherence. And what scalar does, it allows reorganization to higher levels of function, where the body takes the energy and reorganizes in dynamic homeostasis, because the body wants to be in balance. So it's going to take that 0 point energy and use the energy to reorganize into higher levels of function, where the body has the energy. And then when the body has that charge and has that energy, it can discharge what doesn't belong. detox, 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 because we're living in a toxic soup. So then the body is trying to push the toxins out of every nook and cranny it can get it out of. And then it's an old science from those temples, those mystery schools. I tell people to send themselves to bath heaven because it's a detox bath, the purification rites, but the detox bath, very simple. Pound of salt, 2 cups of salt is a simple bath. Because the salt, and that's sea salt, not Epsom salt, sea salt, the salt of the earth stuff. And because the salt will pull like a magnet, it's the old purifier. And the skin is the 3rd kidney, so it's going to take the stress off the kidneys, because the skin is the largest organ of elimination. When the body has a charge, it's trying to discharge everything that doesn't belong. So it's going to be trying to push toxins out of every nook and cranny it can get it out of, right? So the detox bath, you're going to breathe because it takes breath for energy to move. You're going to breathe. And this is even just from wearing a medallion. We've had people get a headache or whatever detox symptoms just from wearing the medallion. Because now the body is going to try to heal itself. So it's going to try to push out whatever created dis-ease in the body in the first place. So you want to do the detox baths. Nothing does what a bath does. But you're going to breathe, let everything dissolve into the water. And it's going to pull like a magnet. The salt works with the charge in the body, that potassium sodium pump and things like that. And let it dissolve into the water. People send me pictures of what's in that water or what's it's really fascinating.
That's an interesting word.
It's an interesting study, but the body, when it has the energy, wants to let go. Love is letting go, wants to let go, joyful release of anything and everything that doesn't belong. So we've seen parasites in the water. We see sometimes, I had a master metal worker that had contracts for doing all the bridges and such. And the first 6 baths he did, the water turned the color of steel. And he said it felt like steel shavings in the bottom of the tub. So he got his magnet, and sure enough, it picked it all up. I mean, just fascinating things like that. And we've had people take a black light, to some of those bioluminescent things that have been people that have been being shared through, this recent, recent, whatever you want to call them, injections people have gotten. That's not anything normal or natural to the body. And the body will try to push that out. And you can actually take a black light to the tub water and see what the body is trying to get rid of. Very, very interesting. Or sometimes it's like sand in the bottom. Sometimes it's green. It's different colors. A little boy with autism, that the water turned black. He'd already done chelation and everything else. And the mother had done chelation. Because she was a doctor, but that's how much heavy metals that the body was trying to get rid of from whatever toxic exposures that we're living in such a toxic soup in the air, the water, the food, and then without this technology, it's like we're all living in a microwave right now. So we need the means. We have the way we had to kind of counter that with technology, because a lot of it's being done with technology. So how do we have technology and the benefits of it without it being destructive to our health? How do you stay healthy? How do you stay strong? Healing, means wholeness. And it's about remembering the holiness or the sacredness of our bodies and who we are and all that we're here for, and our sacred sovereignty as beings, sons and daughters of God. So this helps remind the body of all that.
Well, it's just going back to the original blueprint, isn't it? What I would like to ask, I know you said you started off with one and then you could only see one person at a time. How did it, because it's obviously
It
taken off.
wasn't one unit. It was like probably the world's first tanning booth.
Right.
You stepped into it and stood in the middle of it. But you can't heal the world one person at a time. That's
No.
what's so unique about this. We can have 100 people in a room. That's what's being done in St. George, Utah right now.
Can I just ask, because I read that somewhere, with having 100 people in a room, how many units did you need to have? Could you just have like 20, and it didn't matter how many units you got to the amount of people?
Yeah, it doesn't matter for that. We've had 500 people in 4 units. Wow. And it's effective. We've done 5,000 square foot warehouses with 4 units, or ballrooms and things like that, or events. But 8's about 10 times better than a 4 in the density of fields, and 24 is what they're doing there. And 24 it matches more with the geometry of the DNA. It's much fuller, the density of the fields, and it's smoother actually, because the detox is more elegant, easier, rather than not having quite as much detox symptoms, Herxheimer or retracing to try to manage, so to speak. Although it's very elegant, it doesn't put people into healing crisis as long as they drink the water and do the salt baths. And you want to support detox, but it's also about balancing the brain, right left brain synchronization. So you have whole brain thinking and triggering genius, triggering more intelligence. We want to give people the energy to change. We've done a lot of brain mapping and stuff, but you want to give people the energy to change their mind, to change their diet, to make more intelligent, more informed, healthier choices for their body and for their life and for the world. I think we need healthier, more intelligent, more informed choices with our leadership for the planet to create the new Earth, right? Definitely. Clearly, there's a destructuring going on of the old systems. It's so dysfunctional. So there's got to be, let's create a new heaven and a new earth. But it's through us being that change. We're the ones we've been waiting for. It's about us being willing to walk the planet as the Christed beings, as the sovereign sons and daughters of God, with full access to all that's ours and total remembrance of who we are.
That's your inheritance, isn't it? Hey, when you talk about 2, 4, 6, and 8s and units and stuff, when we look at the videos here and we see the...
Okay, that would be a seesaw. That doesn't work well with the body. Nothing with 2. 4 is the minimum to create that full standing columnar wave, or that scalar vortex, to create a real solid. So 4 is the minimum. So you see in that picture, you're seeing 3 of the 4 columns that have 5 units each. So that's a 20-unit system.
That's counting it. Okay, so what we're saying is that you have one in northeast, southwest, basically. Yeah.
Right.
And then it's up to you. Within this unit here is 5 on each quadrant, if you want to call it as such.
Yeah.
Or cardinal point. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, and the more you relax, the more the body can use the energy. So it's like, taking your power nap, so to speak.
So on each one of those, they're all got a, so just look at the 5 video monitors, if you want to look at it as such. They're all putting out a different photon wave in a different color and a different frequency. Is that correct?
Yeah, they all contain all of it, and they're going through Fibonacci sequences because that's the cellular replication patterns. And then we're colliding because it's precisely aligned, trying to get it to within 1/100th of an inch tolerance, all laser aligned. So every installation is custom to the space. This is a nice clear space where you could have a meditation group, you could have a yoga class, you could have your zero gravity chairs, you could have mats on the floor. You can have, it's designed to make any and every other therapy more effective, more efficient, because of creating that coherence, that, and like I said, that increased electrical conductivity, superconductivity in the body. You know, so anything you apply is going to be more coherent and be able to be much more effective. So it's designed to make any and every other therapy work better. It's designed to make anything and everything work better, and including our technologies and stuff. So because it's clearing impedance, creating more coherence, there's a lot of different applications for the technology, although I designed it really for creating hyper healthy environments and to put the DNA back to its original matrix, so to speak.
So do you start at 1.618, or you use that as a ratio from a starting point? So you might start off, I don't know, at 8 frequency or whatever, and then go to 13. Is that how you do it? Are you doing that Fibonacci sequence in that way?
Oh, okay. Somewhat. I mean, it's covering a full spectrum of energies. So I don't know what you were asking exactly. I'm not sure.
Well, you know, Fibonacci, like for example, in our bodies, if I was to stand up and get a tape measure, and I go, the bottom of my sole of my feet is A, and the top of my head is B. So I take that measurement, and then if I go from the bottom of my sole of my feet to my tummy button and make that C, and if I go A, B, from the sole of my foot to A to C, it should be up 1.618, and then you start seeing that ratio in my whole body.
Yes, and that's why the Fibonacci, or the spiral of life, or golden mean, golden ratio is so important, because everything in the body relates to that. So, and life on this planet relates to that. So
when you do your Fibonacci, do you have a jump point? I mean, do you start off at 1, or do you start off magically at some other number? Of, like people talk about the chakras there, and they might say 528, and the next one might be 628 or something, then one's 759. I can't remember the numbers now, but is that how you do your programming on the system?
Not exactly. Yeah, but it's because it's doing a full spectrum. I'm not working with specific frequencies per se. There is a predominance of like Schumann resonance. Okay, and or the 14 CPS, you know, the resonance of like a virgin rainforest, your ideal optimal brain states. That's how you can get the optimal meditation states.
But now I know why you said we work in the delta and the theta. So you work and jump into that.
That's where the healing is in delta.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also working with the gamma frequencies as well. It's spanning a full spectrum, because that's how we're designed. It's not specific frequencies. Like Rife is specific frequencies that are designed to destroy pathogens. This is how do we create optimal health. It's a whole different intentionality. We're not treating diseases per se or anything like that. It's just a hyper healthy, energetic environment that allows for that repair and regeneration, literally.
Good question. That's a good question.
No, I was going to ask something then. Where are these being made? I mean, you must be pumping them out, if you like.
Yeah.
Because they seem to be in such demand, and I've heard people saying they're waiting, and, you know, are they coming to England? When they come into England, you know, when can we get one? And so I know they're slowly coming across this way, but have you got a large factory where they're building them all the time, you know, non-stop?
Yeah, we've got a full team ramping up, and we're moving to a new production facility as well this next week. should say. But yeah, and realize that our initial clinicals were 2001. The initial research back in the 90s, was with NASA, and who found that it was repairing, they say, the effects on the DNA. This late 90s found it was repairing all the genetic damage, the effects on the DNA of just being in the fields, that it was repairing all the breaks in the DNA and lengthening the telomeres. So true age reversal. And we had Tesla Society measuring all the fields and found that it was, zero radiation, creating that 0 point null zone effect, and transmutation of energy into beneficial fields. But the John Orva video kind of explains that well. But the effect is the power that made the body heals the body, and we love miracles, and we've seen anything and everything heal, because that's how the body's designed to function. This is true functional medicine that way. And so yes, it's going out there. They're all over the world already. Initially, it went out. Of course, I was working with doctors with the clinicals and things like that. But most of them went out in private homes so that it could be stopped. They're all over the world already. And
did you have, when you started making these, did you have opposition or from different forces to try and stop this coming out to humanity?
Of course.
And I know in one of your interviews that you said that you were very protected. So, and obviously you would need to be in doing the work that you're doing and the difference that you're making. So how do you work to protect yourself? Do you just know that you are that force, you are that God source, that you are protected and you don't have to get any more energy?
There is no such thing as death anyway. So, so, okay. But yeah, I wouldn't be here without Archangel Michael protecting me. He's a really good guardian angel. I had that big double-edged sword of truth. Knock that stuff out. Yeah. Very protective. Legions of angelic forces, but I'm also very protected at these levels too, because I've done so much with the military and things like that as far as for healing. And yeah, so it's very, very interesting. So we have a number of retired Marines working in our offices and with us, and special ops and special forces guys. And so, and so everything's being ramped up because everything is custom built using computer components, but like an engine. It's kind of Rolls-Royce components. Everything is custom built, and it's really computers. And the only thing off the shelf was we use very, very high-end monitors. So, but those are off the shelf, but to our specs, so to speak. So, yeah. And with
this lady here wants to know if you're singing inside one of those.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to sit or chant in those rooms, with that going on, would that amplify the singing, the chanting, and the energy?
Absolutely. I mean, people have done a lot with the singing bowls, in the system, which is fantastic and wonderful. As far as it's designed to bring whatever capabilities and talents and that people have to their highest potential. So like singers have found they can go octaves lower and higher, things like that. Or Del Bigtree just got back to me and said he has no other explanation for his really enhanced performance in sports, and reaction times are so accelerated because that neurotransfer velocity, when you have that stepped up, cell signaling, and everything's firing more efficiently. So the reaction times, peak performance is some of the stuff we see with, we have some top athletes using the technology, both for injury recovery, but also for that performance advantage where they become like top in the field, just they become superstars. Yeah, so it's really interesting.
Sorry. Are there any in schools anywhere?
Not in schools per se, but I mean, we do have a lot of young people that use them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's really, really good. Really, really great for learning challenges and things like that. It is designed to trigger genius, and it kind of entrains the brain for like photo reading, which is part of what I learned with Mensa. One of the gifts of Mensa was speed reading, the photo reading, and it kind of entrains the brain for those super learning states.
Yes.
And so any kind of learning challenges or difficulties, it's going to try to push out whatever created the circuit jams in the first place, or the breakdown of the circuitry, and then quadrupled mitochondrial activity. Some of the research, actually, when I lectured at the Royal Society of London, we did. I was there in the UK, and there are systems there.
Oh,
there
okay.
have been systems there. Yeah.
All right.
But 90% of our systems are in private homes around the bed. There was a center, but then they retired. And so people put it back around their bed, because that's the best, is sleeping in it. Ideally, you have it around your bed. It's just the best. But clinically, or in the centers, we recommend people have 2 hours at a time to give the body time to get to the deeper delta and theta states. Which is where the repair and regeneration actually occurs. And realize that one of the first symptoms of electropollution, electrosmog, of radiation effects, whether it's your ionizing or non-ionizing radiation, the body's being bombarded, so it never gets to the deeper delta and theta brain state. So the first symptom of radiation poisoning, which is what we're all dealing with on the planet, the first symptom is sleep disturbances. And so first thing we hear with this, whether it's just from getting a medallion or first thing we hear is that they're sleeping so well, because allows the body to relax. Or the whole body goes, I can finally relax, versus staying in that fright, flight, or fight, or what's called sympathetic, but it's staying in that pure mode physically, rather than being able to relax. And in that 0 point, you rather than being outer reactive to your environment, and reacting and being stressed out because constant compensation for imbalance is struggle, and it's taking all the body's energy to cope with a gravitational field, to cope with a negative environment. Instead, when you go to that 0 point yourself, that right-left brain synchronization, that's so vital for whole brain thinking, but with that right-left brain synchronization, you go to center point, and you have all the energy to respond appropriately to all the stressors without being stressed out by them.
Yeah, and people are so stressed now with, like 5G ramping up, and like all these different toxins that are coming in from here, there, and everywhere, and people's diets, and people are really struggling at the moment. Talking to different people in different environments. So it would be ideal to have, if we could all have a little cube each in our home. Every home should have one.
Yes, every home should have one, or at least have it in the neighborhood, because the fields go out about 2.2 miles every day. It's like Earth acupuncture.
Okay, so there's this lady who's been an active participant tonight. Talks about her son's got epilepsy, and she hasn't got the funds to actually import one of these, and realizes that in the UK there's private people, but I might ask her to send a private email to you through your website. Just ask if you know of anyone wanting to set up a centre there.
Okay, the best way to deal with that, I don't know how many of you saw the interview with Jason Shirka. I'd recommend everybody watch that if you haven't, because the Jason Shirka interview got pushed out and went globally viral. absolutely crazy. And we had over 70,000 emails in the first 3 days. I can't even tell you how many hundreds of thousands we've had now. So people go, oh, how come they haven't responded to our email? Well, it's impossible to respond to 70,000 emails in 3 days. I mean, we had nothing in place for that. And the calls were coming in 1 a minute. So now we have call centers, and we brought in the Marines because they're really good at getting things done and being mission oriented and just charging through it. And actually, one of the Marines in our office, it was part of our initial clinicals. Tatiana is in our office, so she handles a lot of the phone because she was in the initial clinicals in 2001. And she was a former gunnery sergeant. She was at the Pentagon, but she taught martial arts to the Marines.
Yeah.
But she lived with us for a while. She's retired now, and she's had the vision of this ever since 2001. And so she's come and joined us. So, people can call our office and connect there. There is a new office line. It's on the website, EESystem.com. But yeah, from that Jason interview, it went so viral. It was crazy. But it's just time, though. The good news is because we've been waiting a long time for this time. And before that, I was doing the homework, doing the research, laying the foundations. 90% are in private homes. They're all over the world, building the grid, building the foundations. And they always said from the time I was given this assignment, and we talked about that earlier, how I was meditating. And this was an assignment to create this technology. And it was a download in meditation that went on and on and on and on.
I bet.
On and on. And yes, it's done everything that they told me to do. Even though I go, do you guys have the right channel? I'm blonde. Hello. You want me to do what? Create the counterpoint to what? But within a week, I was on it. So it's been an interesting journey, this whole path. And yes, there's been obstacles. There's been, all kinds of attempts. I mean, at one point, everything was taken. I was locked out of my offices. They took everything. We started over with less than scratch. Nothing. Rewrote everything from less than scratch. So you name it, we've been through it. But it's all ramping up and going out, because part of the original instructions was that when it finally went out, it had to be everywhere fast.
Yeah, definitely.
So it couldn't be stopped. But waiting for the right timing. Well, in spite of me waiting for the right timing still, I guess TLS, the light system with Jason's, which I'm part of that as well, they decided it was time, because that was part of our agreement that when it was time, they were going to push it everywhere fast. So I was pushed into doing that interview. Jason showed up. I was doing a fundraiser for Scott McKay. Maybe people maybe know him or not, best Patriot Street Fighter, but I was doing a fundraiser for him. I had 60 people coming at $150 a head that night for dinner at our place, right? And so Jason Shirka showed up, was going to support the fundraiser, and brought his camera and stuff because he was given the assignment to interview me. So he brought the camera, and we're busier than heck. But so he pushed me into doing that interview, and then pushed it out faster than I knew what was happening. And we weren't really ready for what happened with that. I mean, it was a total tsunami of response, because we've waited a long time for this time. Everything is at tipping point. We're in the time of the prophecies, 1,000 years of peace, the second coming. There's all kinds of prophecy about this time.
Can I, going off track, there's a lot of talk about the quantum beds coming in. I don't know anything about them. I've just heard a lot of, lot of rumors about what's coming, this new MedBed technology. Do you know how, is there like a comparison to that to yours? Because like I said, I don't know anything about these things, so I'm totally just coming from a different perspective.
Right. But that's why Jason talks about beyond MedBed technology. Anything and everything they talk about with that, we've been doing. We've been seeing. I mean, I could talk about all the crazy miracles, which is just, just crazy miracles. Anything and everything healing, because the power that made the body heals the body. And when people allow that, you can't make them heal. But, but total miracles.
Yeah.
Literally, people, sent to hospice. Many people have been sent to hospice, reviving, coming back to life, and it's a wonderful thing. All kinds of miracles. We get the stories every day. It's wonderful. So the MedBeds, anything and everything they've talked about with that, we've been doing and documenting, and with the clinicals and seeing for, since the late 90s already. But the reason I was told to do this way is you can't heal the world one person at a time. Practitioner dependent, doctor dependent, operator dependent, one person at a time. So to me, the capsule of putting people in a capsule, what are you going to line up 6 billion people to get in a med bed? I mean, really? How are we going to heal the world that way? Because that was my original question in meditation. How do we heal the world? How do we create that quantum leap of consciousness where the great awakening cannot and will not be stopped? That quantum leap of consciousness for a planet. And so it's working with the, like Tesla's work, it goes through the planet, works with the grids within the planet and around the planet, making it easier for everybody to access those fields of consciousness of alignment with true best and highest. Doesn't impose it, doesn't impose on anything. It just allows that support for alignment with true best and highest, whatever that means in the moment for that individual, and for the planet and for the world. So it's healing the environment, the animals, because it's just hyper healthy energy. It's the natural energy we were meant to have in an ideal, optimal, pristine world. So people could wait for the med beds, that aren't available. I mean, yes, they've been in the secret space program and things like that. But that's one person at a time, still practitioner dependent and all that. Or, what we've been doing, it's like you can have as many people as you can fit in the space, all receiving at the same time. And it's not operator dependent time. It's not time and energy intensive that way. So it's a very different concept, because it was like, how do we bring healing to the world? One-on-one, doctor dependent stuff isn't going to work for us at this point.
That makes total sense. And like for me, I mean, to be able to have a center, and like you say, to have 100 people or 500 people all at one go receiving healing, I mean, that's phenomenal. You can heal the world at a rapid pace, can't you? I mean, it's taken its own momentum. You can just feel the energy of these machines just going and flowing and unstoppable.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because it goes, I think I mentioned the scalar goes out about 2.2 miles directly with that null zone effect. So let's create healthy communities, but that's just the null zone effect. The hyper healthy energy is in the room. The scalar goes through the walls and everything, 2.2 miles every direction, approximately. And it's like Earth acupuncture. And it goes through the planet like Tesla's work. But the photons don't go through the walls. So the hyper healthy energy that the body uses as far as relating to the DNA is actually in the room. So you've got this whole plethora of bioactive field effects going on. It's multiple fields. I mean, polychromatic, but you've got all the benefits of pulse electromagnetic field therapies, but you've got the scalar, which is beyond relative time and space, non-linear, non-Hertzian, that infinitely projected Mobius, so to speak, where it's self-perpetuating, self-healing, self-regenerating fields, which supports the innate natural function of our body. We're meant to be self-healing. Everything's meant to be self-healing in the body, so it supports that whole level of function.
Oh, amazing. So is there a center at all in the UK that if I said to you, like, I would love to go and experience this, is there anywhere I can go?
Not right this moment, but there are some in process. Oh, and I started to talk about Jason Shirka. I recommend people go to Unified, UNIFYD, unifiedhealing.com, because he's got a way for people to coordinate in different areas.
Right.
So that and he's putting the different locations on, or the ones that are signing up with the Unified Healing platform, the Unified Healing. Isn't that great? Unifiedhealing.com. We are the combined unified presence that can heal the world. So this is us. We have to come together and be the greater community.
Correct.
Communion, sacred communion, unified fields. We have to be the greater community. We have to come together. That's the only thing that the counterintelligences have had going, is they've been a lot better organized. Well, these are organizational fields. Reorganization to higher levels of function. We need to bring people together. So, like I said, 2.2 miles, the hyper healthy energy is within the system, though, and however many people. And it works through the DNA, because the DNA is that wireless transmission as well. So it's working genetically, transgenerationally, transdimensionally, and, your ideal meditational states. So it's about being super conscious, and I say using the energy to turn up the volume on your own inner knowing. It's like turning the lights on. Cellular enlightenment, and knowing whatever there is to know, the knowing of which allows all things to totally heal and clear as issues in the body, the life, the relationships, our communities, our families, and for the whole world now.
Yeah.
Let's know whatever God wants us to know, because one of the secrets of instant healing is, as soon as you get the message from higher self what something's about, no more need for the symptom.
Yeah.
Or unconditional love means letting go of every freaking excuse you've ever had for not being in love. Ever. Letting go of every excuse you've ever had, for every limitation you've put, every judgment. Judge not was really a commandment in that Bible. Judge not. Be still and know is really shut up and listen.
Yeah.
It's a commandment. Be still and know. It's in there. Fear not. These are important commandments, really. But be still and know. You want to let yourself know whatever God wants you to know. And then as soon as you're present with anything and everything with love, it all heals. The most destructive emotion in the body is anger, hate and anger. Fear, and everything goes back to that fear reaction physically, because fear and God cannot share the same space. So fear is just forgetfulness of who we are and all that we have access to.
So bottom line, politicians obviously are running on fear.
Fear porn has been the media modality.
So fear for them is that someone might take their job. Yeah. So we've got to keep everybody else from fear. This way seems to be the whole standard DNA for bloody politicians, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just desperate attempts to try to maintain control.
Yeah.
But the Great Awakening cannot and will not be stopped. As people are waking up in spite of everything and anything, people are waking up all over the world. And when we stand in our power, in our light, in our love, when we stand together as those pillars in the temple, God wins. And there is no other outcome. You know, if you could go back and you know, the things of Project Looking Glass, for example, and no matter what they did, we get the same outcome. I've been shown the outcomes. You know, we know how this plays out on this planet. Yeah, the Great Awakening will not be stopped. And they're going to try everything, and they haven't exactly been exiting gracefully.
No.
So I might have taken on that we've had some off-world sentient beings here who've had ill intent. Are they the ones that have been playing around with the fair modules, and are they being evacuated off this planet? Would that be a quick?
Yeah, the gig's up. The gig's up. Their timeline's done. Essentially, this planet's going into light. You know, it's going fifth dimensional. You know, instead of 5G, we're doing 5D.
5D, yeah.
You know, definition of scalar is nonlinear, non-Hertzian, fifth dimensional, standing column or waves beyond relative time and space. So past, present, future is all the same. It's all simultaneous. And so people have those kinds of experiences. It's also very transdimensional. Part of healing many times for a lot of people is being able to commune, have conversations with their recently departed loved ones and complete any healings that way, or get to know what they want them to know, and you know, things like that. So it's transdimensional that way, because there is no such thing as death. We're eternal, and love is forever. We're eternal beings. We just call it a change of address. That's what we call it in Hawaii, the change of address. But you know,
Yeah.
But you know, with a body, without a body, you know, we've got a lot of support on this planet for this healing, which is that time of the remembrance of the wholeness and holiness of who we really are.
Very good.
Brilliant. I mean, we could talk to you about so many different things, but my main focus today was to talk about the EESystems, because I know so many people are waiting and talking about them, and you know, like I said, it's taken its own momentum. So I mean, I can't wait for the time to come when I can experience that. But I think meanwhile, I will have to get a medallion to experience that first.
Yeah, these are very easy, very easy, and very cost effective.
Yeah.
You know, I think I sent you that picture of Bishop Ernie, Father Ernie, you know, who was reporting the miracles. He had witnessed 9 crazy miracles before he was ever brought to meet me, just from the medallions. And so, you know, they're very cost effective. You know, they do like a 5-foot cocoon of healthy energy.
Right.
And you can put them around the bed, and it creates a, you know, people put them on wherever their issues are. But we get all kinds of wonderful reports. You know,
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Yes, because there are a lot of other devices that, you know, different devices now coming through that are doing all sorts of things. But, you know, for people that want to start off easily, simply, without having to do anything, obviously is to get a medallion.
Yeah, and still work with it, because you want to support the detox. You know, you can't expect to be super healthy if you're still poisoning yourself. And quit paying to poison yourself, because you're accountable for every dollar is a vote. What are you voting for? Are you voting for the people that have been poisoning us? Are you feeding them your money, your energy? We have accountability. So you want to buy organic, local, etc. Grow your own foods. You know, life comes from life. You don't get more aliveness by putting in more junk food.
Right.
You know, it's like, duh. But, and then I do want to mention, we do have, I think there's 2 centers already lined up for the UK that I know of. And I know that there's systems already ordered and in process for fairly soon, maybe September, going in or so going in for Sweden and Switzerland and I think Netherlands. There's a number of them. Israel. There's a number of ones going in. I believe UK may be going in at that same time. There's a lot in process, a lot in progress. And Australia, of course, you already have 2 centers.
Yeah.
But the last I heard, there was about 250 units already ordered for Australia. Yeah. So
Andrew, you haven't been listening to the show, mate. They're on the Gold Coast. They're in Sydney. I've just got up here.
People can find those on unifiedhealing.com or they're more at EESystem.com and just go to locations. Yeah, just like you found it, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind doing the forensic, mate.
It's pretty easy.
That's the one.
Oh, I do want to mention we have a new email too for people that have been trying to get through because
No, don't give them your email. You're going to get swamped. Don't do that.
I know info at EESystem is the one that got 70,000 in the first 3 days. So that one we're not using right. We're using support at EESystem.com, or those that are ready to buy, it's the EESystem at gmail.com. The system at gmail.com. And we have a different phone.
What is it called? What?
Oh, it's that?
The EESystem.
The EESystem at Gmail. And the other one was support at EESystem. And with the UK, we've had some funny things with your customs over there.
Really?
Our office had put tiger's eye medallion. Well, it got stuck in customs over 2 weeks because it might be an animal part. So now we just put stones or something. It's like,
oh, God.
Rather than a tiger's eye, like this is a blue tiger's eye. I've had people go, this is a beautiful blue tiger's eye. We renamed it hawk's eye because people are going, how come my blue tiger's eye is not blue? Well, if you put in and look up what's a natural blue tiger's eye stone, it looks like this. It has this
what's the other one you're wearing? What's the other?
This is pyrite.
Yeah, no, I like the pyrite. That looks nice.
It's like a rose quartz.
Andrew's getting up me now.
So we've had some interesting things with that we've dealt with. I was going to give you another. It's 702, the new office line. Here we go. 702-213-7435. 702-213-7435. By the way, if people also want to do their own homework, because I am a professor of applied integrated biophysics for New Earth University. So if they go to newearth.university and put in my name or put in for intro to applied integrated biophysics, it's about a 3.5-hour course with a workbook. If people really want to know more. And I do that as a donation to New Earth University. We're contributing to creating those New Earth havens on the planet. So unified healing is the other thing. It's really good because people can coordinate by location of who's coming, and they're going to need people to fill roles in those centers. And people are lining up, and every one of our system owners, when Jason's interview came out, every one of them was getting 100 to 200 to more calls a day. So all of our system owners, all of our centers are just like booked. So we've been holding back a lot of the interviews until we get more centers in to send people to. But the call is that it's needed everywhere fast. Yeah. And so unified healing is creating a platform for that, but also for the centers. It's a lot of protection in a sense. I don't like to use the word protection because it's creating such a global unified presence.
Mm.
Yeah. And
Okay, so this email address I've put up, what's that one for? The EESystem? The EESystem at Gmail, what's that one for?
The EESystem at Gmail. That's for ordering a system. And people can use that 702-213-7435. And they can set up a Zoom conference to get all their questions answered and set them up with whatever they need that way. They can literally call our office. We do have people trying to stay on top of everything.
And you had another one called support or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, support at EESystem.com. Yeah, there is a bit of a backward system. Support the EESystem, that's just how to get our offices. We now have digital phone systems and things like that.
That's for contact, yeah?
Yeah, because people are, a lot of people are complaining. The calls were coming in one a minute. We only had one phone line, one office line. And then they're going, we called, we left messages. How come you haven't called us back? It was just such a deluge. So now we have a full team, and we're moving to bigger facilities. Everything's systems and organized, and it's been a lot to deal with. But
it's all taken its own momentum, eh?
You just want to heal the whole world,
Yeah,
it's a little big. Okay.
Like Professor John Searle,
Mm-hmm.
the Searle effect generator.
Searle effect generator. Yeah. So, right. Because it's ionizing and ozonating the air. So, yes, eliminates house dust. It kind of goes down. Except with ours, the fans on the computers will tend to bring in some of the dust, even though it's eliminating it in the room. It's purifying the air. It's purifying the water. They found in the initial clinicals, it was purifying the water coming in from the city. I mean, it's because it's reorganizing it. In fact, very practical, the bracelet. You can put it on a bottle of water or hold it to a bottle of water. You can, and it's really very, for me growing up, everything was a science project. So you can hold it to that bottle of water or a glass of wine and feel when it gets heavier because of the effect on the hydrogen atoms.
Amazing.
The hydrogen. It takes about 30 to 40 seconds. The scalar moves at 1.4 times the speed of light, superluminal velocity. But you feel the effects, and it reduces the surface tension so dramatically. It's really profound on that Australian wine. Or if you have champagne or sparkling wine, you can watch the bubbles get smaller and faster as you're reducing the surface tension. But what it does for wine, it like brings it to its highest potential. It's a great study. There's your homework.
Yeah.
It sounds to me you look like Julius Sumner Milner now. You're taking over his job. Did you have him when you grew up? Did you have him, Julius Sumner Milner? Used to do those little black and white little scientific things you used to be doing on the blackboard and talk about why is this so? And
oh, okay.
No, you didn't have that when you grew up.
What was the name?
Professor Julius Sumner Milner.
No, we didn't have him.
He's an American guy. Anyway.
I don't know who the.
Oh, well.
Okay. I mean, I studied a lot of people's work.
No, he used to come out on TV. He used to do these little 5-minute, little 10-minute little scientific projects. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, at every science project when I was growing up, everything was a science project. So this is a fun one, though, especially with the wine.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can have communion, but it reduces the surface tension, makes it very, very smooth, and it changes the nose and and very, very quickly. But you can also taste the difference very easily with water and things like that. So it makes water wetter. It's 28% reduction in surface tension, so it makes water wetter, but it's also 28% increase in the electrical conductivity, of the water even. So it's restructuring and things like that very quickly, very efficiently. So these are really very handy little devices.
Yeah,
this don't leave home without them. They're really good for flying.
We'll be looking into that when we finish. Well, thank you very, very much. It's been an absolute delight and pleasure to have you on the show. So much information. I mean, I didn't do science at school. It wasn't a subject I liked, but my gosh, amazing. What you're doing for humanity and what you've brought into the world is absolutely phenomenal. So thank you for all what you're doing and what is carrying on.
Yeah, thanks for holding the space for this time for everybody on the planet. We just want to heal the world. The Great Awakening.
Hey,
coming.
I'll ask you a really dumb question. Why did you come on our show? I mean, if the other one just swamped you.
Yeah, and I've put off
why us down here?
And why not?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I just wondered if bloody Archangel Michael's lobbed up and said, "Hey, listen, I've got Gabriel, I've got bloody Raphael here, I've got them all turning up, and you're gonna need to do this interview." Hello.
Yeah, I've been kind of putting off interviews, but partly because it's going to UK and Australia primarily. Although, we can, barely, keep up with all the orders, but the demand is there very, very much so. And people wouldn't be as ready for this time if we hadn't gone through what we've gone through this last little bit. I mean, people used to think they were fine. Now people know they're not fine. And they know that the medical system may not be where they want to go at all. Because nobody's been drugged to health yet.
No.
And the doctors are trained to treat disease. They're not trained in producing how do you create health, how do you get super healthy. And so we've got to take and accept responsibility. Our sovereignty means being responsible.
Yeah.
Ability to respond rather than react out of fear patterns. We need to, come from our place of peace and power and respond to everything that our responsibility for our own health. If you don't have your health, what are you going to share with anybody? And health is the new wealth. I mean, if anything people have learned from this, that's the only thing that's really, really valuable. If you don't have our health, what are you going to do? What good's your money? You can't take it with you.
Nope.
You're just going to give your money to the banksters. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So it's just time.
Thank you. And we just got to let people know that you've been a real trooper. I mean, unbelievable. People don't realize it's now 3 o'clock in the morning.
I know.
You've done a fantastic job. I just can't believe it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for telling me that, Jeff.
But when Aussies buddy tell you the truth, we're like Simon Cowell.
I know. I liked Australia too.
Simon Cowell tells you as it is. I mean, that's Aussies, isn't it? We tell you as it is. Then we're not blowing smoke out your bum.
Thank you.
So brilliant. It's been really authentic. It's been awesome. And anyone who's watching the replay, I think, thank you very much for taking the time. I mean, it's coming up for 1 hour, 53 minutes. It's the longest show we've ever done. But I mean, it just goes to show you just how important is resonating, isn't it? And
it's part of the law of resonance. The cells resonate and vibrate with the power of truth. And it's the truth that sets us free. And through that law of resonance, that's how we're going to come together.
And I'm quite sure if you go to UK, Andrena's there if you want to stop off for a cuppa and demonstrate to you, and she can show you you can do a little tiki tour around that part of England. And of course, the same will go for Australia. Sure, we can do a tiki tour around this part of the world.
Yeah, I love that. That Gold Coast was very, very nice. Beautiful.
Yeah, undo it.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Anything else, Andrena, baby?
No, that was lovely. I'm aware of the time, so thank you once again. Thank you so much.
You asked, ask and you shall receive. It is the law. I asked, the clearer your question, the clearer the answer. Ask and you shall receive. Everybody needs to know that is the cosmic law.
Yes.
What you ask for. But the clearer the question, the clearer the answer. And thanks for asking me to be on the show, and thanks for having me. And I, even though I totally dropped off for a while, whoever was taking care of that got us back on.
Yeah, indeed.
I know, we ad-libbed it, we carried it on. I like the fact that you talked about the Christ within everyone. It's what I think that makes perfect sense. So it just resonated with me to say that everybody's the Christ within themselves, and it's just got to manifest it into this realm. And so everybody becomes Christ. And I'm sure you said that in some form, and that resonated with me really well.
Yeah, we're the ones we've been waiting for.
Exactly.
For everything he did and more we're to do. Let's get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. High five to you, babe. Very good.
Yeah.
Love it again.
And yeah, live long and prosper too. Aloha, aloha.
Yeah, you got it. All right. And
All right.
we'll just finish off with this little statement. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. That's it, and good night.